Hey, what's going on today? We got Vincent DiSanti, right? DiSanti.
That's it.
All right, the fan film god, the guy,
Oh my
the guy
God.
who set the standard for what fan films should be. With
Well, thank
Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow, and Never
you.
Hike Alone 2 coming out this October, Friday the 13th. I'm so stoked you're actually having a Jason movie come out Friday the 13th.
I know.
Welcome.
It's always, I mean, if there's going to be a time to release a Jason movie, that's what Friday the 13th is for. It's been how many years since we've got a studio Friday? Since 2009.
Serious,
Uh,
yes.
so it has been a long, long wait for Friday the 13th fans. And I don't know, I'm just happy that for some people, Never Hike Alone has filled a nice little space in that time. I think fan films in general have really risen to the challenge and sort of challenged each other, and everybody is sort of raising the bar and telling different stories and doing things the studios would never do. So it was sort of a blessing for young independent filmmakers in this time and with lacking a Friday the 13th. But yeah, now I'm just excited about Never Hike Alone 2 and, bringing an end to this 6-7 year journey that I've been on.
Dang.
Not like really the intention of it, but it's sort of like this crazy adventure that led me down the path. And, after waiting for COVID and some other things that kind of got in the way, it's nice to be at a place where we're on the back end of Never Hike Alone 2. We've shot the film. The film is in editorial, locked, going through the post-production phase. My stress levels are a lot lower, still high, but not as high as they are during shooting time.
Mhm.
But I'm just excited. Friday the 13th is going to get here quick. We're less than a month away. And, the film's going to get exported right at the beginning of October. It's going to be a really sort of like hot off the presses type release. We're really excited about it. I'm really proud of my team and the actors and everything there. So, we're in the final month of crowdfunding. So that's going to be a big thing. We're going to be closing credits on September 25th. We're actually running a contest right now to become an EP. So anyone who
Oh,
purchases a Jarvis versus Jason raffle ticket, which comes through the Jarvis versus Jason perk. So there's a special Blu-ray. There's a special 8x10 set with the photos of Ghost Jason, played by myself, and Tom Matthews, who plays Tommy Jarvis. They're both signed, hand signed by the both of us. And there's also an 11x17 poster. And then there's a combo pack called the Jason versus Jarvis bundle. The
oh,
individual,
neat.
so the individual purchases get you one raffle ticket. The bundle gets you 5 raffle tickets, and then there are also some special edition VHS that just came out with, I think, maybe 1 or 2 raffle tickets, which are pretty cool. And they're 1 of 13 each edition. They're re-releases of our VHS tape, all the way from Never Hike Alone all the way through Never Hike Alone 2, 2 editions of Never Hike Alone 2. I know it's a lot, but what does this EP bundle get you? If you're selected, if you're the person whose raffle ticket is selected, you become an executive producer on Never Hike Alone 2. Your name is going to go at the front of the credits, right
Nice.
under Tom Matthews' name as an executive producer. That's what we're going to be giving you right off the front. You get all the Blu-ray perks. So you're going to get every single Blu-ray, every single version of it. You're going to get all like you're going to get the Ghost Jason doll. You'll get a mask. You'll get a sweatshirt. You'll get a ton of stuff. Now that's just the base package for an EP. This person is also going to get 1 of 2 screen-used Tommy Jarvis shotguns.
Oh, neat.
So yeah, so I mean, it would be, and at the end of the day, we're trying to get as many people to buy raffle tickets, because collectively everybody just giving a little is going to add to a lot and help us with the post-production funding, the perk creation, and all of those things that we're sort of still raising on the back end for some of the back end perks we're doing for our Indiegogo. The Indiegogo will remain open through the campaign, through the release of the film. Even after credits close, we're going to pare it down and kind of offer certain things. After the campaign, screen used items are going to become available.
Mm.
The only way to guarantee a screen use item and that you're going to be able to get it is if you become a executive or any type of producer, whether associate through executive. We're going to
Okay.
give all of our producers a first sort of look through our prop bin and select what they want. Those items they'll be able to take it home, like right directly from the movie. They'll be able to put it in their horror dens and put it up as one of their mantelpieces to say that they own a piece of Never Hike Alone, and they got their name on the front of the credits as well, which is pretty
Mhm.
cool, with other members of the crew. So we got lots of things that we're offering. I mean, but for everyone else, like, we have special credits starting at $10 and perks that go all the way through, a couple hundred, and you get lots of cool things. The higher you back, the more stuff you get and the cooler stuff that you get. So I would definitely say check out the Indiegogo campaign for Never Hike Alone 2 now, because you know, you want to get your name in the back of the credits of this. There's already 3,000 people who have backed the film. It's going to be a long list of credits, but that's the point. We want to show that Friday the 13th fans from around the world, talking about 44 different countries that have backed this campaign. We're going to be shipping things everywhere. It's going to be insane after release. But, you know, I think it just shows the solidarity of the Friday the 13th fandom coming together behind fan films, supporting the characters, showing the studios and everybody that there's still love for this character, there's still love for this franchise, and that we want to see more material. And I feel very, you know, blessed in the sense that fans have supported us in such a big way. We're encroaching on $300,000 to fund this entire production, plus the perk thing. It's really a cool, but also very, you know, big task to take on. You know, it's an extreme level of responsibility to manage all of these things. And so, you know, it's nice to sort of be here now at this point, the film coming out. I'm really excited about it. You know, Tom Matthews is coming back. Vinny Guastafara is coming back. Andrew Lady's coming back. We have, you know, Anna Campbell coming back from Never Hike in the Snow. I return as Jason Voorhees, along with my stunt double partner, Brian Forrest. And then Doug Tate from Freddy vs. Jason is in the film. We have a few more surprises along the way. Lots of things people are going to want to see. And I think at the end of the day, you know, when fans look back on Never Hike Alone and the journey that we've taken, and, you know, it's 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and people are kind of talking about this period, I think it's kind of a cool badge of honor to say, look in the credits. If you look in the credits, you'll find my name. And you'll be a part of it. And these are IMDb credits. I mean, I don't want to oversell it. Like an IMDb credit is pretty cool. Great. Like your name is going to be listed when the film, like everybody asks about it now, and everybody like, where's my credit? I'm like, once you've gone all the film has been completed and it's done, then we're going to submit a list of credits. Like we don't submit a list of credits as we go. Other people find things out and they post stuff for us. We have no control over that. But as far as that stuff goes, we submit a big list at the end of the year, and then it's up to IMDb to post it. You can post it yourself as well because you have visual credit. But yeah, it's really sort of it's a real cool badge of honor, I think, for people. And I always like to look through the names. I see a lot of people that I know. I end up meeting a lot of people at conventions. And if you tell me that you're a backer, you're going to get my time and attention. And I'm going to sit down with you and we're going to talk about the film because I'm making this for the backers. I want them to be happy. Like it's an extreme level amount of responsibility, and I feel responsible and beholden to the backers who back us to create something that they're going to be proud of. And so that's something that I'm really looking forward to, because come Friday the 13th in October, I think that they're going to be pretty proud that they backed this project.
So what's the last day to sign up for the campaign? When's it going to close?
Your name in the credits, September 25th, 2020, midnight.
It's coming up.
Be a little bit of rollover, but you don't want to play with that rollover because all of a sudden all of those perks are going to get shut off. And I'm going to do a master export. I'm going to put the final, you know, credits in. I'm going to submit my credits to editorial, and then we're printing and go.
Nice.
Like there's no going back from that. The stamp will be sealed. We have, you know, I know that fans love physical media, so we offer a lot of different physical media items, like different types of Blu-rays, different types of Blu-ray jackets. You know, we just, like I said, we just released some new VHS tapes. We have some weapons, some masks on the campaign. And we also take requests too. I mean, we've heard people, you know, give us some good ideas in the past, and we've made it happen. Like you know, so those things are definitely going to be on our radar for, you know, backers to be interactive with us and have that kind of appeal. So that's the one thing that I think with a fan film you get direct access to us, and we can sort of customize exactly what you want, especially if you want a secret perk. If you just want a few things and you want a certain price for it, we'll package that up for you and, you know, make a perk just for you as well.
What's the weirdest perk that someone's asked for?
I don't think we've gone too many weird perks. I just know that there's been some people who make series of like some like crazy, like they want everything, like very specific stuff. So it gets kind of tough because Indiegogo only allows you to list 10 items per perk. They limit it at that. And so if they get more than that, I gotta get creative in the writing to like leave myself instructions, because I'm not going to fulfill it for like another year and a half. And so sometimes going through secret perks, I'm like reading things that I wrote, like, oh, then you must have been very busy this day, because I don't know. And so, you know, but that's the thing. Like I sit down, I fulfilling the film is a lot of work too. It's just as much work as doing the movie.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I really enjoy sort of bringing up, like every time someone lands on my page to like start being like, I see their order. I see a person, they have an address, they're in a place. And a lot of times, like, I'm making sure things are right. So I'll even like look up where they're from, like certain things. Sometimes like the address doesn't come through. So I go, okay, I think they mistyped something. Let me save them an email. I'm going to see if I can figure them out, and finding them and sort of being like, wow, someone in this neighborhood that I've never even been through or gone through found this movie. It's
Yeah.
interesting, as you create something and people do it. It's like an interesting kind of journey. So I do enjoy that when it comes time for fulfillment. It's my way that I enjoy the process. But I'm going to have like over 3,000 orders to take care of, and it's going to take a couple months. That's for sure.
Yeah, so when the first one, Never Hike Alone, was it easier to sort of start up your campaign like that? And then do you have a lot of crossovers? A lot of people went to Never Hike in the Snow and now Never Hike Alone too?
Well, the build has been great. The start was a struggle. Our first Kickstarter failed.
Yeah.
We raised about $27,000 on a $40,000 goal, and with Kickstarter, you don't get any of the money if you don't hit your goal. So everybody's
Oh,
money was
really?
yeah. So none of the money was ever withdrawn. Um, so that was sort of that was kind of a sad day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it did introduce us to some people who ended up backing the film. They gave us money outright. We didn't have to go through a Kickstarter campaign. So we get together about $20,000 to go out and shoot the first half of Never Hike Alone 1.
Mm.
It's only when we sort of proved to the public that we weren't messing around. Like we
Yeah.
went out, we spent that money, and we created a really nice second trailer. And we didn't just like shoot a trailer, we shot a movie.
Yeah.
But we needed to finish it. And we needed about another 20 grand. And so with that, we proved to people, we shifted to Indiegogo. We ended up going with a different strategy, which was like, let's just get some money and keep going. And we raised about $20,000 on Indiegogo, finished the movie, and we had, I want to say 277 backers. That's how many people backed the first Never Hike Alone.
Wow.
And looking back on that, I thought, man, that's a lot of orders. And I remember doing it, and we got it done, over the course of a weekend. Everybody got together and we did it, and we went. It has grown so much since then. I think Never Hike in the Snow had 2,300 orders, something like that. Never Hike Alone 2 is at 3,500, 3,600 orders.
Wow.
Luckily, a lot of them, because it's been such a long campaign, there's a lot of people who have come back and made multiple purchases. So it's nice because I can kind of like, there might be, 3,000 purchases, but I can, at least some of them are like, it's 15 of two going to the same people, and I can knock out like a big swath of sort of the list at one fell swoop. And it's nice to think, okay, here's a bunch of resources going to one place. Those become challenges because you have to build bigger boxes and do things like that. But it is sort of, it is. If you don't know logistics and you don't know how to organize Excel sheet, do not do crowdfunding. Stay away from it. Let me tell you that. My Excel skills, I always underestimated them, but I'm glad I learned Excel as hard as I did, because without it, I would not be able to do any of this stuff.
Excel's a beast. Yeah.
It is.
I have a tough time navigating
Well,
that
even
stuff.
Google. I mean, I've even made use of Google Sheets. It's not as in depth as Excel. Look at us nerds. It's not as in depth as Excel.
I thought we were talking about horror movies, guys. What the hell? We're talking about Excel.
When I do all the sum variance. So no, but I love. I don't know. I sort of I figure out a lot of things that way. Excel's a friend of mine. That's how we got that. I mean, Never Hike Alone is built on the back of Google spreadsheets. So there's definitely the fun.
And I gotta say, just Never Hike Alone. I don't really fan films never came across my radar as much, but Never Hike Alone just blew up everywhere. You couldn't get away from it. Every YouTuber was covering it. Like everybody in there started to do a new like franchise ranking. Everybody was so excited for this Never Hike Alone and with Never Hike in the Snow as well. And it just blew up. I'm pretty sure you're really proud of that.
Yeah, no, it definitely, when you're a creator, you want people to watch your material. And so when it ballooned to, a few million views, and it was getting covered by everybody and everybody wanted to talk about it, it was cool. It was cool on a lot of standpoints. I mean, first of all, like, you never really go into a fan film thinking that it's actually achievable to be something that's actually talked about.
Yeah.
Most of the time fan films are very insular, and that's who I was making the original Never Hike Alone for. I was making it for like foreign trolls.
Yeah.
And it's the only way I could say it is like we were just people who talked about Friday the 13th incessantly, and I just had a vision and I wanted to bring it forward, and I went on the journey to do it, and I wanted to show everybody like this is what I'm talking about. This is what I think Friday the 13th can be. I think when it found a bigger audience, it really sort of just encouraged me to sort of keep following this and say, all right, I got a vision for this. I think people are in it. I want to see something. The only way I'm ever going to see it is if I do it. So I'm going to keep down the path. And, with Never Hike in the Snow, it was a lot of, it became the pressure got more because now there was a bigger idea, but I had this grand vision of how this would all tie together. And it just seemed that life kept throwing stuff in the way. Like we had COVID and now, and that took 2 years of production away. And we got Never Hike in the Snow done, but it also sort of hurt it in a lot of ways in which, it came out with no back end to go into. I didn't have Never Hike Alone 2 at the time called Never Hike Again to go roll right into with it like the original plan was. It just had to stand alone as this little sort of island of misery. Because that's what that film is about. It's about the misery of losing a loved one and then not getting answers when they go missing. And this is what it's like in Camp Crystal Lake. It's almost like a Twilight Zone meets True Detective episode of the Tales of Crystal Lake. Like this is just day in the life of Crystal Lake. Every now and then someone goes missing.
Yeah.
And no one can explain why. And no one really digs below the surface. And the only person who tries to dig below the surface gets in trouble for it. So that's why this town exists the way it exists. And then as we go into Never Hike Alone 2, we start to unravel that story. Because fans didn't have that immediate thing to dig into next, it was like watching the first episode of a TV series with a huge a huge cliffhanger ending.
Yeah.
That doesn't get answered for now 3 years. You know what I mean? So I understand the frustration that sort of came with it. I was frustrated because I was really proud of that film and the way that we elevated our production value, and things were like showing signs of improvement with Womp Stomp Films and our way to build these projects. We worked really, really hard in the post-production. We wanted it to go on the big screens, but we had no place to bring it.
Yeah.
So with Never Hike Alone 2, what I'm most excited about is the fact that we finally have a place to bring it to audiences. We're finally going to be back on the road with it again. We're going to be with people there. We can bring Never Hike in the Snow with us. We can bring the Ghost Cut with us and do back-to-back screenings, and it will all flow into one big story. And I think that, that's really going to excite a lot of fans who love Friday the 13th and who are, hungry for Friday the 13th content. Are going to be able to sit down and watch these films on big screens. And we're going to try to bring them to film festivals and events with good screens, with good sound. And you're going to see a good Friday the 13th film up on a big screen. And, let the studios take however long they need to take. The Peacock series is coming in 2024. In the meantime, on October of 2023, Friday the 13th fans can get together and they can watch Never Hike Alone 2 somewhere. It's going to be streaming live on YouTube for free. You can play it on your big surround sound system, on your big screen TV in your main room. We're also going to have a ton of places where it's going to be screening live. We got into the festival that we wanted to get into. It's going to be streaming there. I can't announce that yet. If fans know our story, they can kind of figure out where we're going to be. Just to say it's kind of high up. But other than that, Tom Matthews is going to be at Halloween-a-Palooza in Iowa, I believe. And he's going to have Never Hike Alone 2. He's going to be hosting the Never Hike Alone 2 and a Ghost Cut screen.
Oh, wow.
So Halloween-a-Palooza, any of my people out there, you want to get to that because he is going, I'm telling you, that man is going to be so happy when he sees this movie because he has been, a big supporter of it. He's been a big supporter of the project. We talked about the things and, we're making things happen. And, I'm really excited for Tom. This is really his film. He's in it 99% of the time. Vinny Guasafara does another amazing job in this. Andrew Lade, like I said, all those people, they did an amazing job. And there's a few other places too. So we're going to be, backers. If they back the campaign, they're going to get updates as to when these things are happening. If you follow us on, Womp Stomp Films, at Womp Stomp Films on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, X, whatever, TikTok, all that stuff. We're going to release this information of where it's going to be screening live. And these are going to be good screenings with people that are going to be giving a great presentation. And then you can go home and watch it on YouTube and share it around. But we want to have a big Friday the 13th celebration this year and say enough is enough. The lawsuits are over. Finish the strike. Get Friday the 13th back. It's time. We want it on TV. We want it in the theaters. We want it in animation. We're working. Shout out to Ghost in the Fog, which
wow.
we're going to be working on very shortly. We're working on a campaign just to get Ghost in the Fog finished. So there's lots going on, and we're really excited about as far as Friday the 13th from the Womp Stomp Films aspect. And we just hope that this energy carries over to just the world. And with everything out of the way, Friday the 13th can come back. And then as we, finish off with our Friday the 13th series and we release Never Hike Alone 2, when we ship out our our Blu-rays and DVDs, we will, at that point say it's time for the studios to take over because it's the perfect time. And I think it's a nice sort of bookend to the fan film era. It started in 2017 when Never Hike Alone 1 came out. We've seen a ton of films come up. We're going to end it with a ton of them. You know what I mean? So let's save the best for last.
Thanks to you. You did it.
I will take some credit. How about that? I will take a little bit of credit in the fact that I think that where I stand on it is I think that we showed fans that it was possible, that you could do a fan film with higher production value, that the tools are out there, that you don't need $1 million to do it. And
do
that
it yourself,
you have the proper spirit.
Yeah.
Don't wait around. You can do it yourself. You can get together with friends. If you're passionate about it, you can do it, but only the strong survive. I saw a lot go up. I saw a lot less come out. And that's no knock on everybody because this is hard. Anybody who has made a fan film, this is so hard to do this in between living a real life and a real job, having to pay your bills that way. We don't get paid doing this. All the money we raise goes right into the film. I don't need to keep money. I don't want the money. I don't want a worse product so I can have a Rolex watch. I want a better film. I want a better shot. I want a better scene. I want
you got to be Mr. Beast about it. Everything I get in gets spent on the videos and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And because that's where I find my joy. I find my joy in the creation. This is my toy. You guys are paying for my hobby. You know what I mean? I get to spend your money on getting these things done. And that's why I take it so seriously, of the fact that I know I'm not just out here, waxing my own whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm out here because people have entrusted me with a vision and I'm going to see that vision through and they believe in it. And so there's that's kind of it's a two-handed thing. But coming back to the fact that, Never Hike Alone really sort of like took people by surprise. I think with the addition of Tom Matthews and surprising people and sort of
when did you get Tom Matthews on?
We got him in January of 2017 and told nobody. And the strategy of holding on as that is a secret and only releasing that upon the film releasing was the best thing we ever did. The people who trusted in us first, those first 277 backers, let's call them, and then the first 35,000 to 60,000 people that watched the film in the first few days, they got the surprise of a lifetime. They watched this film that they thought was going to suck. They had never really even before saw a fan film. And that's no knock on previous fan films. Like there's some really cool stories in those, but it really takes a hardcore Friday the 13th fan to sit down and watch something that's filmed with consumer products. A consumer handy cam that's going to DV tape does not have the same cinematic quality as a Red camera or even a 2017, Sony A7S II. The game had changed and we were right there at the cusp of it to capitalize on it and show people what you could do with DSLR equipment and, DIY equipment. We ended up bringing a Red in eventually, but we proved ourselves with the smaller equipment first. And so they saw those tools that are affordable and they went after it. And a lot of people are, graduates of film school. There's a lot of graduates of film schools who buy their own cameras, Blackmagic cameras, Red cameras. These things are all affordable now. Like in 1980, in 1990, and 2000, a cinema camera was going to run you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Plus film, forget it.
Oh, yeah. Film.
You know what I mean? The advent of digital media and then getting higher resolutions on digital, on smaller and smaller discs, on smaller and smaller hard drives has, right now, In fact, they have invented technology in which, as they film the scene, they hit record and then they yell cut and they cut the shot. The shot gets saved to the computer, uploaded to an antenna, and sent all the way to Avid, right
Oh,
into the editorial. So as soon as you shoot it, it's in post. Not as soon,
wow.
obviously, it's got to upload and download and all those things. But
Yeah.
that's what the cloud's doing to this with digital cinema. These things are going to be embedded into consumer stuff eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually, 4 or 5 years later, consumer stuff is going to catch up to that as well. And you're going to see the advent of independent cinema is going to reach a new level. And so it wasn't that we reinvented anything. We caught up with the game quickly and a we presented a package to the audience that resembled something that usually has a lot more money invested into it. And that is the game that we play and is the most fun part of Womp Stomp Films is, even though we raised $300,000 to make Never Hike Alone 2, we still only saw right off the top of that $270,000. We
Okay.
paid almost $30,000 in refunds and the percentage that Indiegogo takes to go there. So
Okay.
I've lost $30,000. That's like 3 of my last short films, original short films. I could fit within just what I lost on Never Hike Alone 2. So there's a lot of that too. And it's really there. But for that sort of money, usually you're not looking at, feature film length, productions. You're looking
Yeah.
at stuff that's like very, very short. Like most 50, 60, those things are much smaller projects, especially with like the amount of action and effects and all of those things that are happening. It's really, kind of, I keep saying like this submarine is scratching the bottom of the ocean and, I can hear the bolts like sort of wanting to release, but we just got to hang on and purge through. And we
Oh
did
man.
it. But it's definitely like, big ideas meeting a small budget
Yeah.
are a challenge. And I think that that's one thing that we always try to approach. I did some math the other day. I think in the last 7 years, we've spent a total of $450,000 for
Oh.
over 2.5 hours of entertainment. Which, when you think about that, the first Friday the 13th was made for $750,000 in 1979.
Oh yeah.
Friday
Well,
the
this
13th,
whole the whole
2009 was made for
franchise.
$19 million.
Yeah. The whole franchise is built off like that's what started this whole slasher movement. People thought, well, I could make it cheap and make a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
And then things got cheaper, like Paranormal Activity. They made that for nothing. What
Well,
they
yeah,
make that
that's
for?
same thing with Skinamarink.
$70,000?
And same
Yeah.
thing with, what's that other one that came out? It was like a less than an hour long, that one too. But it was
Oh, Host or something like
Host.
that?
Yeah, Host,
Yeah, that
Host
was a good
Mode.
one too, yeah.
They made that for like $25,000, I think.
And they filmed it with mostly, like, iPhones?
Yeah, they
So
taped iPhones to the back of
yeah,
their
I saw that
to the
picture,
back
it's
of
like,
their
real
laptops. So
wow.
yeah, so there is ways to work with less, but for me as a filmmaker, I strive to do bigger and better things. I came out here to work on big sets. I came out
Mhm.
here to be on big films. I kind of have that sort of want to work on the big action pictures, on the Predators. Like I wish I could walk back in time and work on a Tony Scott film. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's where I want to be. I want to be where, like, you know what we're going to do today? We're going to blow up a building. Like, let's go
That'd be
blow up a
fun.
building and film
Yeah.
the shit out of it. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I want to start my morning, with a cup of tea and a full logistics plan for the demolition plan for how we're going to like explode a building.
I'm
Like,
pretty
that
sure
sounds like
someone
fun.
I'm pretty sure they've been giving you a couple of calls since Never Hike Alone and stuff came out.
I've done some meetings, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it really hasn't warranted into anything that's been an original project. And I know
Yeah.
that. I know that that's probably one of my biggest sort of, it's one of the things that I sort of hear in passing is like, when are you going to get an original project done? And it's not that I don't
We
want
mentioned
to.
Crystal Lake. Well, Crystal Lake's got a call like, "Hey, man, you can at
I
least do
mean,
a couple episodes."
listen, I think I know enough to know what I don't know, but
Yeah.
what I do know is I know the level of experience and sort of assuredness that a show like that is going to go to when they look at their director roster and when they look at
Yeah.
their writers roster.
Yeah.
And this is a studio show. There
Yeah.
are plenty of DGA TV directors that are probably like chomping at the bit to get there, that have been
Yeah.
putting in a lot more time than I have in normal careers, trying to get to Friday the 13th in the right way. And I can see how this is sort of a, the fan film route is sort of a shortcut. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's sort of like I kind of cheated. I made my own film against the rules, as even if the unwritten rules of it. And I needed to go earn my way, sort of like building my way up, doing my own films, doing some original stuff, and people want to see original stuff, and I totally get that. I'm attached to 3 different original projects,
Oh,
so
nice.
the process of getting an original project funded and made is a lot longer. And again,
Yeah.
when Never Hike in the Snow got delayed, so did those projects, because
Mhm.
when I go to the original realm, it's not like they're going to give me $20 million to do it. The most I'm going to get, I could get another maybe 500,000. I
Oh,
could
wow.
get maybe I can get 1 million.
Yeah.
There's lots of different scenarios in which I'm going to be offered a package, and then I'm going to have to go make that film. Luckily, I won't have to produce it on my own and do all those things like I do Never Hike Alone 2,
Yeah.
which shout out to, Brittany and Kyle, my producers, who I love and support and have been here since the beginning. They, I have my help, but to be just a director on a project would be really nice. And I think, to get paid to do something very specific would be really nice.
Mhm.
Because then I could just focus on the creative and let the logistics to the people who like really love logistics. I want to go earn that kind of respect. Now that it's out, now that Never Hike Alone 2 is done, I can sort of pursue those avenues, and I am working on stuff right now. But at the same time, Never Hike Alone 2 was this very specific opportunity that required a lot of attention. I have to manage a lot of the details on it. There's a lot of things to chase down. There's a lot of scheduling issues that we face. How long am I going to have Tom Matthews, Vinny Guastafari, and all these people available to make a film that looks like this? And I was running out of time. We weren't going to come back in 10 years and make this movie. We had to make it now. And as a Friday the 13th fan, this is the film I've always wanted to make. So as
Yeah.
much as I want to do original stuff, I saw Never Hike Alone 2 is like, I may, even if this is perfect, they may never offer me a job for Friday the 13th. I have to make this count.
Yeah.
This is my opportunity. I think I got a good story. We're going to finish it. It's going to be the bookend. This is they didn't I came out first with Never Hike Alone. So we didn't get much funding. And then people started getting funding after Never Hike Alone. And then we came back on, we got
Mhm.
more. And this is sort of, I see as the reward to say like, okay, you can now show us what you meant. We've done that. And now I can move on to other things. And I think people will see this and say like, yeah, I want to see an original project from this guy. I want to see an original project from this team. I want, them to rely on the fact that Womp Stomp Films is an entity that doesn't just exist as me, but it goes all the way from development through post-production with the partnerships that we have at certain companies that we're able to do it for a price. We're able to do it with a certain crew. And, we've done it with menial resources. If we doubled our budget from now, we could create some really cool stuff on a good budget, get everybody paid, and make some really cool new original horror content. I'm really excited about the projects that I'm attached to. I can't talk about them because of NDAs and it's just be
Sure.
too early, but those projects take longer to develop. There's a lot more hurdles to go through. Financing through that level, you got to find the right person. If we find an angel backer who comes in and gives us $1 million, well, there we go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's that easy, but it doesn't always happen that way. We have to prove ourselves. And just like before, we're going to do that. We have different short films. We have different things. So we're just going to keep doing that. And as we approach and, look for those opportunities, we're just going to take them as they come.
Slasher movies are a bit of a drought right now. Do you agree? I mean,
I wouldn't say that slasher movies are in a drought. I would more say that like they're booming and now's the time.
oh, okay.
Um,
No,
you know
because
what I
I think
mean?
we got Scream 6 to come out. Well, at least in theaters, Scream 6.
Scream, Halloween.
Yeah.
We had like, Happy Death Day. What's the other one that was like Freaky?
Freaky
There's,
was good.
so there's lots of like films that are coming out that are in the slasher genre. The slasher
Mhm.
genre is like the murder mystery is sort of still in,
Yeah.
which I think is nice. We're really proud of a project that's coming out in a few months for us. It's called Bath Bomb. That's Giallo style. So I think
Oh,
that's
very
going to hit, and
cool.
sort of like we want to keep pushing the Giallo narrative out there, saying, hey, if we're going to do slasher, we should bring back in Giallo. Like, come
Nice.
on, new
Mhm.
technology. Let's get crazy. Let's like
Oh.
tell some like let's not like. I think what I've seen a lot from the Giallo genre, other than maybe the remake of Suspiria, which was still sort of grounded in dark,
Oh, yeah.
like let's get crazy. Let's look at the old films. They don't have to make I mean, we should make it make a little bit more sense, but I think that like they should go after artistry versus sort of like telling like some like convoluted story. Like it should be just very simple, but tell it in a very pretty way. Slashers are going to keep doing. I think they got to strike now because eventually it's going to taper off. But let's just get one thing straight.
Mm.
There's slasher films and there's slasher booms. Okay,
Okay.
whatever. Friday the 13th is its own entity. It could come at any time, and you know what? If it came in a drought, it would be flood season because there's nothing like Friday the 13th. I mean, Halloween, yes. A Nightmare on Elm Street, yes. But when you're talking about slasher, and you're talking about like just event film in the theater, there's something about Friday the 13th that just holds that crown as a franchise as just being able to be an event.
It's got the X
These
factor.
films are events. It's got that X factor. It's got that hockey mask. That's what I keep telling people. I was like, they asked me like, well, Vin, like, why are you so successful at crowdfunding? And, there's a lot of things that we do that I think are smart that like, we always don't do Never Hike Alone stuff. We have to look at things that are raising $20,000, sometimes $10,000, just little things. And that's not easy. Like even that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put a hockey mask on it, it gets a little easier. But that doesn't make it simple because I've seen a lot of things with hockey masks on them and haven't met their goals. I've seen a lot of things with Michael Myers masks on them that haven't met their goals. I've been a part of those projects.
Yeah.
So, it's not a guarantee, but it helps because once you do it right, there's a built-in fan base that's going to show up and show up at your door. The reason why I don't care when people talk shit about me as a fan filmmaker or saying that like, oh, well, I make fan films, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you know what? I am a fan. I'm an actual fan of this franchise. That's why I'm here. Like, you don't understand. You're not a fan of this franchise. You're not as pissed off as I am. You're not sitting here like wondering where the hell a movie is and why you've been waiting this long and you're sick of waiting. You're not going to sit there and patiently wait for another lawsuit to go by or another strike or anything. I just did it myself. That's why I did it, because I'm a crazy Friday the 13th.
Yeah, Friday the 13th really, like, that lawsuit really kicked everybody in the nuts. We knew immediately, because I remember I was a big fan of the game, and then all of a sudden we were supposed to get like a part 6 map or something, and then the lawsuit happened, or no, we were supposed to get a Jason X Grendel.
Jason X was supposed to come out.
Yeah,
just announced it.
Oh yeah. And then just nothing, and it was such a kick in the pants.
Big nothing burger.
Yeah.
It really, I mean, we were supposed to get a film in 2017 that got canceled. And that's what really sort of revved me. Because I was like, I'm trying to stay out of the way of the big film. Like, I just want to release my little thing and prove to like my friends that I know what Friday the 13th is all about.
Yeah.
And then they canceled it. And I went, oh, Friday the 13th is open. I'm going to release Never Hike Alone on Friday the 13th. That'll be fun. And then, I think that Never Hike Alone was a punch to the jaw to the studios.
Yeah.
It was a FU from us as fans being like, stop making this so hard.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. It's right in front of your face. The formulas are there. Stop relying on the old stuff. Try some new stuff. Do it in a way that's kind of like without dishonoring the franchise. There's ways to do it. And we've proven it. And I think that the Never Hike Alone series has been a complete sort of testament to the fact that Friday the 13th can evolve and evolve beautifully.
Oh yeah,
we're doing a good job. I'm going to take credit to say that we're doing a good job, but with an actual studio budget, with actual studio minds behind it. That's why I'm excited for Peacock, because Brian Fuller is a good showrunner. Like, it has the potential to be a really emotional and thought-provoking story. Because these are real people. These are real characters. And the more you kind of like, I feel like the more you pull out against Jason, I think the more sad his story becomes, because the more, and especially, really hope they take it in a direction that Jason isn't an evil kid, because that's boring. I think Jason going from this beautifully innocent kid who never did anything wrong in his life to then having to carry the torch of murder. It's such a great character arc. It's such a long, and then like sort of the redemption back. There's sort of an Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader thing going on there. Like I would love to see that story play out over a long period.
Not Rob Zombie, and he's evil from the get-go, killing cats.
No, not that there's something wrong with the
boy. It just snapped. Yeah.
Because
Jason's a sympathetic character, right? He's
Jason.
Yeah,
and I think that Jason can be sympathetic in the standpoint of the fact that like he lives life with a deformity, he lives life with a handicap, he lives life as an outcast, and I think that that's why so many people, really relate to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The story of him, the fact that he was disfigured, the fact that people sort of maybe reflect that, they see themselves in a lot of things. And I think his disfigurement and I think his sort of vulnerability, we sort of reflect on that. We've been there at some point in our lives. We've been a small, you know what I mean? We've been a
Yeah.
little person. We've been someone who's been picked on, or we had someone who picks on us, and Jason fights back at those people who picked on us. Even though the film's not really about being picked on, it's about revenge.
Yeah.
It sort of stemmed from that. And I think that like that's sort of like turning the screw. There's I wouldn't say there's a Joker quality to him. You know what I mean? Like Joker was always sort of like in the Todd Phillips version, sort of
Oh
there.
yeah, I
There's
was like,
you
yeah,
know
a criminal. He was always a criminal, so he was a
Well,
sympathetic.
he was always like
Right?
borderline. He's sort of like a
Oh,
borderline
okay.
man. I don't think Jason is that either. I think that
No.
Jason is truly innocent. I think that
Yeah.
he's the victim of circumstance. I think he's the victim of neglect. And
Yeah.
I think that the rage that happens within Friday the 13th,
Yeah.
the thing that really builds the curse, the thing that really sort of, gives it its energy isn't Jason. I think it's Pamela.
Oh yeah.
Pamela is the source of all the rage. Pamela is the one who was wronged. Pamela is the one who was ripped off in life. You know what I mean? She was given this son, an unwanted pregnancy who she loved dearly. It wasn't her fault the husband ran off or the boyfriend ran off or the person ran off, but that was the light of her life was little Jason. And she loved him and that's all she had. And
Oh
wherever she went, she had to drag this kid around and he created upstairs everywhere just because of the way he looked and no one looked past the way he looked to understand who he really was.
yeah, he had like elephantism or something, elephant man syndrome or something.
There's not so much that there's a specific sort of term, and I always forget it because I'm not that smart. I
Yeah,
forget
it's
the big
something.
words, but it's hydrophilic. I think it's a hydrophalacy, and it might be
Okay.
elephant man syndrome, but it's hydrophalic sort of membranes, things in his head that make him misgrow and misshapen will, push your eye down, things like that.
Yeah.
He, whatever happened to him, is sort of, um, you know, uh, I guess that's something to be explored. But at the end of the day, like when you see somebody like that, and your first impression of them is negative.
Yeah.
It's sort of a thing that we're taught through the eyes of horror films. The disfigured person is the one who's the evil one. But they never really talk about how those people were just people once. They weren't evil because they were disfigured. They were evil because of the way that they were like the way that they were actually treated. It was the
Yeah.
treatment of them, the fact that they were outcast, the fact that they were beaten, the fact that they were wronged and easily manipulated. Not easily manipulated, but people could be like you could get favoritism just by the way someone looked.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big core element of that
Yeah.
early Friday
Yeah.
is that side of it. And if they present that thing of like this woman who is trying to make a life for this child who's never given a fair shot, who needs to be protected at all time in her eyes, and this boy who yearns for freedom. He just wants to live a normal life. He wants to play with the other kids. He just doesn't want to be around his mom the whole time. You know what I mean? He's a teenager. He's getting a
Yeah.
little rebellious. So it makes sense. You know what I mean? But I think at the same time there has to be love, like a real true love, because you don't kill for somebody you don't love.
Yeah.
And the
Well,
thing
she
is
loves her
you
son. Yeah, she went on a killing spree.
and that's why I say like the whole runaway thing, like you don't run away from the person you love. Either. So what would Jason do to say that like, I could see a young boy running away, but in the films anyway, there's a 13-year gap, from 56 to 79. So you're talking about Jason running away for 13 years. I can't see Jason doing that and being away from his mother for that long, unless she was abusive. And I don't like that story either. I don't want Pamela to be abusive. That's not the mother I saw
Yeah.
for her. I think that there's a balance. I think that like, in my opinion, like Pamela is sort of a woman who never got to live her life because she ended up having a child young and she never got to experience sort of, a career the way that she wanted to do it. She never, she doesn't have a stable partner to help, doing it all by herself. That real struggle of being a single mother, which, a lot of, people out there I'm sure can relate to in some way, or being a single father or whatever, your situation is, the struggle of that, being a single parent. The fact that like the love life for her must be difficult because there is that baggage. And of course, Jason being Jason, being disfigured, there's that extra level. Bringing a person sort of into your life and then showing them, like, do you want to be the father of this disfigured child that's not your son? In 2020,
Mhm.
23, you may find people that are a little bit more understanding and empathetic and actually really supportive. In 1950 and 1960,
Yeah, not so
well,
much.
actually, no, you're talking about 1940s and 1950s, even worse.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like during like the real bad like communism scare and this whole thing about like
They
being,
would have shipped off Jason to like an institution or something. Like you're not
yeah,
even gonna take care of him. Yeah.
and how many and how well, yeah, I'll be with you and all that, but we should ship your son off to a school and
Yeah, terrible.
but here's what's so great about Pamela. If she was
Mm.
given that opportunity, she would choose Jason every single time.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's what I love about her. And that's what I love about their relationship. And so I don't buy the whole thing of Jason running away. I feel like Jason really did have to drown. He
yeah.
died.
I thought he
He died.
sort of he skipped out in the teenage years. I don't know. To me, I think he just like grew up out of the water, right? I don't know. They never
Yeah,
acknowledge
they
that.
never acknowledge it. They never cover that. I think that there's ways to do that. There's ways to
Yeah,
do it supernaturally.
yeah,
I feel like him just rising from the lake already that big, died as a boy, came back as a man.
yeah,
There's something about Pamela's blood, her rage, fueling some type of supernatural link between, you know, death and life. The fact that Jason loved his mother so much, he couldn't make it to the other side. So his soul and his every being was trapped at the bottom of that lake, calling out to her. And that's what drove Pamela crazy. So when she finally died and gave up her life for him, he returned as the incarnate version of her revenge, now built to take the revenge for the both of them,
yeah,
driven by the rage of her rage and the rage of her death, and feeling somewhat responsible in a way because he shouldn't have been down there without supervision. And his mom told him to stay off the pier without supervision. He didn't listen to what she said, and he fell off and he died.
yeah.
And he was right down there the whole time, and they couldn't find him. I've been to lakes where it's just nothing but vegetation. You know what I mean? And I would go as
Yeah,
far
there
as
you
to
go.
say is that like maybe there's something about Crystal Lake that like he got caught up in that vegetation and maybe something held him down there. Something hid him down there. There's something about the lake that's a little which I think
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
fun to
Something
tie
magical
in.
about that lake.
Something
Well,
that just in my head, like I think that you could twist the story of Friday the 13th. So if you even go into the past and you told stories about it just in a really sort of vague way,
yeah,
that when settlers first got there and they spoke to the natives, like the natives always knew that it was a beautiful part of the lake, but they never settled there. Every camp that seemed to go to that specific part of the lake always ended in a bad story. People
yeah,
died, people
yeah.
got sick, people got lost, people went missing. So they stopped settling there. They admired it from afar,
It's got a
but
death curse. He
it's
said
got a
it.
death curse. It's got
Yeah.
a death curse. And that's what, and that again, you got it. Like
Mhm.
it all translates all the way to what Ralph is there because Ralph has been a long time resident and as a child probably heard that story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's got a death curse, the death curse story. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? The native death curse story. But what do white people do? What do we like to do? We like to say like, oh, that's all hubbub. And
Yeah,
what do
that's
the
stupid.
Christies
I'm
do?
gonna investigate this noise.
Hey, there's a little town. There's a little show called Yellowstone, which basically like is a whole story about how we're like, you know what, this is our
Yeah.
land now, and we're just going to set it.
Oh,
And
I gotta
like,
watch that show.
so I see is the fact that you get the story of Camp Crystal Lake settled in, created in 1935. Let me ask a question: how did the Christies get that land? That's a cool story.
Yeah. Maybe
What has
that's part of
happened?
the TV series, right?
I think that'd be great. I mean, what's happened there before? But even then, maybe that was through plot and murder. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe Crystal Lake was obtained by nefarious circumstances. What are the things that have happened at Camp Crystal Lake since 1935 till 1958, other than the two counselors that went dying and the boy that drowned? What happened before that?
Yeah.
What are the stories that happened before that sort of like got swept under the rug? And for me, I think a part of Friday the 13th is a class struggle story
Yeah.
because there is a woman who is a single mother with a deformed child who needs help, and you have wealthy to-dos who have nothing to do but look for charity cases and make themselves feel better about themselves until it inconveniences them. And then the minute it inconveniences them, they're suddenly a burden and they're off on the street. And so I feel like the Christies represent that sort of version of America very, very well. I think that that's something they could explore. You know, Steve Christie as a young kid at Camp Crystal Lake is something to explore. You know, being a counselor there when Jason was there too, which I think would be a great way to tie their stories together. There's lots of things you can do with this series. I really think that honestly, the world's an oyster. And Brian Fuller even said that if they go 10 seasons, they're going to do a Jason X season.
I don't want to see it in 10. I want to see it in 3 episodes. I want them to go to space right away. That'd be fun.
Yeah, just the second season and space.
Yeah.
We're gonna go from Pamela's origin to the Grenville.
Something.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
and Never Hike Alone 2 is coming out on Friday the 13th. Are you scared of the Taylor Swift release date? Because Exorcist Believer was too scared of it and moved. But you got to have Jason on Friday the 13th, right?
Let me just say this. Taylor's favorite number is 13, right?
Yeah.
She's probably a big Friday the 13th fan. Fans are probably all Friday the 13th fans. How long is her concert?
Oh, like 2.5 hours, I think.
Well, that's good because you can come home after the concert, sit down, park yourself in front of YouTube, and throw on a Friday the 13th film right after or before without having to pay a single dime extra.
Yeah.
Keep the party going longer. And then when I think about it, are my Friday the 13th fellow fans, are the majority of them Taylor Swift fans or are they horror fans?
I think they're horror fans first, yeah.
I think they're horror fans first. Yeah. I'm not worried about my peak demographic going to something else. My demographic is going to show up. I have a very niche audience. People are going to be there. And guess what? There's a weekend that follows. And again, it's for free on YouTube. So people are going to be able to find it. I'm not scared of Taylor.
Yeah.
In fact, I just hope that somehow we get intertwined with her somehow, or she sees the 13 and says, you should watch this movie. I would really enjoy that sort of thing. And then if she could also tell people to purchase a Blu-ray. Pre-order
something like that.
Then we're good. Then I'll make Never
Tell your graphic guy, your social media guy, Taylor Swift with the hockey mask or something. You can figure
we should all start. We should all start a Taylor Swift. If you love 13, support us. We'll be playing the same night as you.
Go watch.
In fact, while you're sitting in the theater waiting to watch Taylor Swift, you can get there early and watch Never Hike Alone 1 and 2.
Like, you can watch, binge the whole thing.
Binge the whole thing. You can while you're waiting.
So is this your trilogy? Are you you think is it wrapping up, or that's just another story that you're going with?
No, I mean, this definitely bookends it. This is definitely my story. It's not the story that I sort of penned, I don't know, however many years ago, because I had to bring it to reality. I had to do those sort of can I actually afford this? Is this the best route? Or now that I see with the funding that we have, here's what we can really do. I wrote a much bigger version of Never Hike Alone 2 that I wanted to pitch to the studios. So I got it through a few rounds at the studios, and then lawsuits hit, so those talks stopped. And so when I looked at doing this in crowdfunding, the core elements of the story that I wanted to tell are all there.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of that. The kills are awesome. The production value is all there. It's all there on screen. There's a couple of things I had to sort of kiss goodbye sort of early on in the process that will always, for me, be a part of the story just because I've just been so connected to it for so long. But this version, finally seeing it up as it is, because it's sort of a cut down version of my original sort of like really big idea.
Sure.
It still hits the punches for me, and I'm really happy about it. And I think that, we're in good shape going into this screening, and I think that fans are going to really be wowed by. It's going to the emotional factor still coming through. It's the through line of the entire film, but it's sort of we finally get to take the gloves off a little bit with killing, and I can't wait for fans to see what our effects team got up to and the type of rigs that we built and all that stuff. It's going to be really, really awesome.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, you've always, with these different iterations, have always done something different. I remember first hearing about your film was like, oh, there's going to be a found footage aspect of Jason Voorhees, Friday 13th. Like, oh, okay, let me check that out. And then Tom Matthews shows up at the end. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Same thing with the snow. Everybody's always like, oh, why does he always come out in summer? Wouldn't that be cool if snow? And doing something different. And for Never Hike Alone 2, you say this is like the Tom Matthews story. Can you elaborate?
This is the sort of fourth chapter of the Tommy Jarvis story. We got our chapter. Like, if anyone who saw the sneak preview,
It's almost
Yeah,
like generations. I was like, well, they time traveled. They got young. They got part four Tommy Jarvis here too.
exactly. And a lot of people thought that that was like Tom's son, and they didn't realize that it was Tommy having a dream about the death of his childhood.
Yeah.
When Jason showed up at his doorstep, he robbed Tommy of a childhood. He robbed him of his mother. He
Mhm.
robbed him of childhood innocence. He robbed him of a life without trauma. His life has been fucked up ever since that moment. And he's been yearning for peace ever since and not able to find it. And so we watched his trip through part 5 and part 6. We saw him go crazy and struggle with the demon that of Jason living inside of him, and we took that sort of idea and blended that with Never Hike Alone, and we see that Kyle suffers from hallucinations after the end of Never Hike Alone 1, which is pretty cool. We saw that even Jason suffers from hallucinations in Never Hike in the Snow, and
Mhm.
so we know that Tommy's had hallucinations. That sort of part 5 reference. And then, we know that Tommy defeated Jason in part 6 and put him at the end of the lake. But for those of you who are, aware or maybe not aware, the Never Hike Alone series picks up as a bookend to the Paramount series. And
Mhm.
I'm not cutting off the series anywhere. I'm saying that somewhere along the line, there was a Tina and that event happened. And then somewhere along the line, Jason got on a cruise that a bunch of high schoolers got on and killed them too. And that happened. And then he disappeared. And that's sort of, as a fan, a reflection of what my experience as a Friday the 13th fan has been. He set off, and I haven't seen that Jason for a long time. I've seen some other Jasons that they have brought onto screen and tried to present them as Jasons.
Yeah.
But Jason Goes to Hell isn't Jason. And Jason X is fun, but that's not Jason either. And
Yeah.
Freddy versus Jason is its own thing, but that's not the Freddy versus Jason I wanted to see. You're missing that one that got washed out into the ocean. What happened to him? What happened to that
Yeah.
Jason? I want his story. And in 2009 they tried to reset the bar, but they didn't give me a really clear, definitive Jason of like, this is a really stable atmosphere for this story to be built upon. I felt that it had a lot of flaws as far as like if it tried to get legs to go on bigger, it would
Mhm.
have really struggled in the long term. As a fan, I looked at part 8 and I went, where did that Jason go? And that's what the Ghost Jason is in Never Hike Alone 2. He is that story. So with that type of Jason, where is Tommy in all this? Well, Tommy has been looking for him. He's Don Quixote. He's been ravaging the forest, looking for Sasquatch, looking for the dragons, but he's been finding nothing but windmills. He's been finding nothing but a ghost. He still suffers from the hallucinations. We established that in the first scene. When he gets up and he feels the water rolling across his feet, and he stands up and he stands face to face with Jason in his bedroom again, just like he did at the end of part 5 when he stares at him at the end of his hospital bed. And we say
Mhm.
that this Tommy, this iteration of Tommy, this Tom Matthews is Corey Feldman, John Shepard, and Tom Matthews, Tommy, in one person in today's world, technically in 2017, because that's when Never Hike Alone takes place.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun how we kind of made it sort of a period piece now.
Yeah,
Never
yeah,
Hike
yeah.
Alone 2 has a
2017
period.
is forever ago. It's
We
everything pre-pandemic. It feels like that's 10 years ago already, you
we
know?
had to use a
Yeah.
phone with a friggin' an adapter in it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it was so much fun to sort of weave in little things from 2017. I didn't know we had
Yeah.
so much fun doing it. So where is that? Where is that Tommy? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, what's he been doing? Like, so we established we Never Hike Alone. So, but we also wrote ourselves into a corner.
Mm.
At the end of Never Hike Alone 1, Tommy hasn't seen Jason in, we say, this is the first time he's seen Jason in a long time. He doesn't think he's ever going to find Jason again. So when we wrote Never Hike in the Snow, we had to write a story that was like, we needed Tom to get close to Jason, but not quite get there. Let's show the closest Tom ever got to solving the crime. And have, Never Hike Alone remain as our big sort of like, life in Crystal Lake was like this until Kyle McLeod and Never Hike Alone.
Yeah.
And then, and so now this is what happens. Now that Tommy finally discovers Jason again. Obviously, that's not a spoiler. We wouldn't make this movie where Tommy didn't discover Jason again. We won't do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
You know
I
what
mean, silly.
I mean? I would be silly to go all this way and not do that. So,
Mhm.
so now where we're at is that Tom is living in the right at that time where he's about to meet Kyle. Never Hike Alone 2 overlaps with Never Hike Alone 1. We see some of the events that we saw from Never Hike Alone 1 from Tommy's perspective. We even see some new new events from Never Hike Alone. We've
Oh
woven
wow.
new parts of the story. We've retconned a few things because we actually ended up recasting 2 actors as the EMTs because the other 2 EMTs weren't available. So I was like, I can't you can't intercut scenes and do things with old actors and a new
Yeah.
actor. You know what I mean? So I was like, I got to kind of recover some of this stuff and reset these scenes with these new characters so people realize that this is it. Lots of convoluted things going here, but the long story short is the fact that like you're going to answer the sort of question. We're going to answer these questions. How did Tommy find Kyle?
Okay.
Why hasn't Tommy been able to find Jason? How did he find Kyle? And then what does Jason showing up mean now that he's back? And
Okay.
what is Tommy going to do about it? And so those are the questions that we want to answer for fans. That, sort of that, like, okay, if Tommy's been here looking for Jason, and now he finally does find Jason, what is he going to do and how's he going to Then you have the other stories that are going in because you have people in town that have been affected by this. You have Vinny Guastafaro playing, Sheriff Rick Colon, who has to account for these people that are going missing on his watch. And he thinks that Tommy's responsible, sort of tying in a part 5, part 6 storyline,
Yeah.
continuing that, being like, he feels like Tommy's trying to play the hero, that Tommy's trying to make people go disappear to be like, well, I'm trying to do it. And he's trying to make Rick look bad so Rick can't get reelected. So, he's got to deal with that. Then you have Diana Hill, who's coming from Never Hike in the Snow, who's lost her son. We've woven this character of Mark Hill into this story in a very nice way with Never Hike in the Snow, where he is a kid from that town. He's also a fan of Kyle MacLeod. We saw that in Never Hike in the Snow. He actually watches his videos. He went missing, and he's still missing because no one's found his body. So what is this woman doing? How is she moving on with her life? We've never seen, like, maybe other than Rob Dyer, or Rob Deere, we never see, a mourning, person in these films. We never see somebody months later after somebody's had to deal with Jason. I mean, we sort of had Chris dealing with a sort of assault attempt that she had from Jason the previous summer. We have
weird. It's so weird. Like
yeah,
Jason's rapey. Yeah, I don't
know.
know. I don't know about it.
You always wanted to know what it was like.
Oh
You
no,
also,
man, the remake, the supernatural guy, like, hey,
yeah,
look for my sister, maybe. Oh,
maybe.
got me thinking about all the leftover characters and like how they mourn and such after losing people and missing.
Yeah, so we have her, so she has a reason to have a stake in the game, and obviously Andrew will come, Kyle MacLeod will come back, and so all of these people are sort of like who are all on their different journeys are all going to meet in one place in time because they're all brought together by Jason Voorhees, and they're going to have to do something about it, and they're going to have to work together. And can they get along? And can they work together? And can they do it? And so it's very much like I have been saying and kind of pitching Never Hike Alone 2 is sort of a kaiju film.
Okay.
It's like monsters fighting. It's like it feels like every act sort of builds to a monster fight, and this is sort of a nice sort of cast of characters where there's different people fighting at different times. We have different villains and different monsters. Jason obviously being a monster, and then different monsters fighting him. So there's lots of fun stuff there. And it's sort of, there's like this nice sort of emotional arc to it all. And it sort of tries to one thing we try to do is make sense of Never Hike Alone as a whole as much as we can. And I think that fans will be like this to sort of saying, listen, we're going to put a bookend on the Paramount era. We're coming up with an ending. We'll come up with an ending. This is how it's going to play out. And we're going to play it out for you. And then, hopefully fans can kind of say like, all right, there it is. There's this goodbye to the Paramount era. Like there's the send off. Now we know that like all the things are where they need to be. We're happy with this. Now we're ready for something new.
Okay.
Because, and for me anyway, specifically, now I'm being like, okay, now we finally finished that story. Now give me something new. Like now try to change the story a little bit. Now give me something that's as well told as that, but with more budget and better thinking out from the start. Because that's what I want for Friday the 13th is sort of a new project to come out and sort of have a plan. Don't do Star Wars. Don't write it as you go. Like look 3 films ahead think trilogy, start trilogy. And then even when you get your trilogy down, think about ways the trilogy can turn into a double trilogy.
Oh, wow. Not
Because
like Halloween. They totally retcon Halloween Ends. That wasn't the original plan, I heard, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know what the original plans were there, and I know that there were lots of smart people involved. It's
mhm.
sort of, I think, for me, there were too many smart people involved, probably
Yeah.
too many storylines trying to. It sort of needed to pick a lane in
Yeah.
a way. Um, and I feel like some of the surprises were too hard, like the Sartain twist, the Evil Dies Tonight, the whole Corey thing. I feel like each of those was done in such a heavy-handed, sort of fumbled way that it took away from movies that otherwise, other than those elements, were actually very good movies. And I think that's the crime for the Halloween movies is the fact that like there's lots of great stuff. There's lots of great Michael action. There's lots of great storylines. Lots of great acting. Then all of a sudden, it just tries to do one thing too much. And if it just didn't do that one thing too much, it would have just coasted along and been an almost perfect Halloween movie. Um, and just and even been shorter runtime, which I think they could have used.
Yeah.
I think this edge to like make like 2 hour long movies is kind of crazy. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that
Friday well, Terrifier 2 was 2.5 hours, and that's like a epic, like yeah, one of the favorite slasher movies of all time. I love it. And it was long, but I could dig it. Would you
you know
ever
what I
do
mean.
something like that? Like a 2-hour Jason movie, you think?
I mean that's sort of what like the Never Hike Alone supercut will end up being. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it will be a 2.5 hour thing, a 2 hour thing, but that's like it covers so much ground and it's so well woven. I
Mhm.
feel like if you're gonna go 2.5 hours, it should feel like an hour and a half.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? It should feel like an hour and a half. I feel like one of the problems with some of these films that go on forever is the fact that they start to drag, they start to wear their screen time.
Yeah.
People get uncomfortable, people shift in seats. And I think that like, especially when you don't have the budget, it starts the paint starts to start to peel a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah, you start
And
to
you
see
start to
it like, yeah,
you
okay.
start to see the edges of sort of like the creation that they have. And you and at the same time, like you need to keep people engaged for that long. You can't keep just repeating the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So, I feel like, especially with younger filmmakers, you want to be sort of nice and to the point. You want to keep it moving and you want to make it exciting,
Yeah.
but you don't want to waste people's time. You know what I mean? Like people got shit to do, and the minute they look down at their phone, the minute they look off, like you kind of lost them. So you got to keep them like leaning forward and engaged.
Well, is
Um,
that the difference between watching it on YouTube, you believe? Because people are watching it on their phones,
yeah,
or
people are gonna watch it on their phones, but you
I'm
know
gonna
what?
be
I think
watching Never Hike Alone 2 on my TV. YouTube's everywhere.
that's
Yeah.
fine. But guess what? Let me tell you something. So there's something about getting locked into this position where people lock in. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? If they got the film up, like if they want to watch it on their phone, guess what? It's going to look beautiful on your iPhone.
Yeah.
It's going to look beautiful on your MacBook screen. It's going to look beautiful on your iPad, and it's going to look hella good on your TV screen.
Mhm.
Um, but if you want to see this thing like take off, go to a theater once
Oh,
you get a
yeah.
chance to. If you like, we're going to bring, like I said, we're going to bring it around. We're going to tour it. When you sit down and you actually get to fly on some of these drone shots and see some of these shots of Jason, I'm telling you, I'm telling you now, we shot this like a kaiju film.
Mm.
Jason's gonna feel 100 feet tall in some shots. It's gonna be
Oh,
so
nice.
cool. There is some stuff in this film that when we get to it, it's gonna be like Friday the 13th porn. Like you're gonna be like, oh, like
Nice.
yes, like not. And I'm not talking about like explicit stuff. I'm just saying the stuff that we like to see Jason do, certain elements or like sort of expected things that you would see of Jason in a Jason movie. We do some of those kind of like tent pole scenes. Oh, there's some good ones in there. I'm really proud of the way they came out. Very stylized, very slick. Um, Again, people are going to be like, I can't believe they made this for the money they made it with. And then we hope they enjoy the film, and then then afterwards support all the original stuff. If you want me to make original stuff, I'll make stuff. It'll be great. It'll be fun. I just need funding.
So are you going to be after the 13th is it going to be more in theaters and you're taking it on tour, or
Yeah, I mean, on the 13th, it will be in theaters in a very select few areas
Mhm.
at free screenings. So Halloween-a-Palooza with Tom Matthews in Ottumwa, Iowa. Friday the 13th, Never Hike Alone, The Ghost Cut. Saturday the 14th, Never Hike Alone 2. Tom will be at both screenings for Q&As. Track Cinema in Auburn, New York. 13 Gallows Lane is hosting this. They are just hosting a screening at the theater. They're going to have tickets. You got to check it out. Atomic Monster Weekend has shown interest in showing it. Mesa, Arizona.
Oh, that'd be dope. That's James Wan's company, right? Yeah.
Yep. So there's Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is pending. This is the Dark Room Horror and Guild Cinema. Will be doing that. Son of Monster Palooza is thinking about doing it. October 19th to the 22nd. Knoxville Horror Fest is also thinking about doing it. So these are all pending. The only two that are confirmed are Halloween Palooza and Auburn, New York, and 13 Gallows Lane. The other ones I have to confirm. But there's another screening that's happening on Friday the 13th, high up in altitude, at a place where we have been before, and we are going to do the premiere there. Almost like time is repeating itself. And I'm looking forward to being back and sharing this film with people and seeing it on the big screen. And anyone who is in that area who can think about this and get ahead of it on tickets, go and do that now, because it's going to be a hell of a weekend. A lot of great films are going to be there, but we're going to have, this is where you want to be. This is the spot you want to be. You definitely want to join us in this place. Keep an eye out for the announcements, but you want to be there.
Oh, cool. All right. Or you could give me a graphic and I can put it, paste it.
Yeah, at the time, maybe we could. Like high altitude. Which state has very high altitude?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, what state has high altitude? Oh, you're giving clues. I get it.
Yeah, the clues are there.
I think I can put together.
Like I said, anyone who knows our history, who knows where we got our start, we're going home, baby, and we're gonna show this. This has been a long journey, and I can't wait to show it to the crowd.
You can watch it before your Taylor Swift concert or during it, whatever. I mean, you could be that
release. It's probably going to release like evening of.
Oh, all right.
So you'll be able to get there. We'll do it. We'll have it. It's either before or after. You'll be able to watch it.
And that's very cool. You're not competing with Exorcist Believer anymore, but they can do all three. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe they moved out on October 13th because they knew that Jason was coming back.
Yeah, they're really scared of you.
Yeah,
Taylor Swift. They don't
take that.
They don't want that smoke.
Yeah. Jason Blum.
Jason Blum doesn't need any of this.
Yeah.
What about Friday the 13th, the game? Wouldn't that be cool if it was like a Never Hike Alone?
Have you seen the mod? Somebody did a mod of Ghost Jason in the game. It looks awesome. I wish we got to do that.
Savini Jason, I think. Yeah, Savini.
Yeah, it is Savini Jason. But if you look on YouTube now and you look up like Ghost Jason Friday the 13th, the video game, there's someone modded it on the computer.
Oh,
it is
nice.
Like perfect. Like it looks so good. And he just marches around and murders a bunch of people. I was loving it. I was like, this is so cool. I'm actually sad because there were other Jasons that were supposed to come out too that never came out. I'm kind of like, ugh.
I know you said the canceled
Jason X, but other ones too. They were like brand new versions.
Yeah, you said like the canceled 2017 one. I go, oh man, I sort of forget because it's been so long.
Black Eisner.
They can get all that. Can they buy previous DVDs right now? You could buy.
Yeah, everything is. You can. Everything's available for pre-order right now. Previous Blu-rays are still available. Everything from Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow, Ghost Cut, Never Hike Alone 2. The Jarvis versus Jason packages will only be available until the 25th. That's going to close afterwards. So you're going to run out of time to get all these different things, and then 13 days or about 2 weeks later, it's going to be showtime.
And what's this going to be rated? Is it
no rating, but definitely R. I mean, there's enough violence in it. It's definitely R.
Can I watch it with my kids? That's what I'm saying.
Yes, you can watch it with your kids. There's not going to be any nudity. We don't believe in putting nudity on YouTube where children are going to watch it. That's
that's the pitfalls of YouTube anyway. Even if you age restrict it, they'll do something.
I know, and it's just, I mean, kids are going to see it. You gotta, I don't know. It's different if it's going into the theaters and things like that. You want to do that, but I feel like
we're going to get great gore.
Oh, we're gonna get great. Yeah. I can't wait for you guys to see it.
My kids can handle gore. It's fine.
The gore is good, and honestly, like the gore is like it's good, but it's not like it's not terrifying. It's definitely not.
No, I know.
We're not ripping anybody in half. We're not, tearing penises off. We're not doing anything like that. This one.
Well, you had some great gore You're selling yourself short, dude. Some of
Very,
those
no, I
kills
know
were
some of the, I mean,
great.
obviously, like the axe to the mouth is pretty nasty.
Yeah, I
And
was about
we
to
have some,
mention
I
that
mean,
too.
obviously, we're going to come with something.
Favorite Jason kill so far, whole franchise, and then
Oh, it's
from
definitely Mark in part two where he gets the machete to the face and then rolls backwards down the stairs. That always like I was always like, that's amazing. The fact that somebody rolled backwards down the stairs in a wheelchair, I love that kill. It's so cool.
that stunt guy was insane. That's some jackass stuff.
I
Like,
know, right?
yeah. Or just some of the practical ones, like the dude who got folded in half. Part six. That's
Yeah,
probably
part six is my favorite.
yeah, mine too. I think that was one of the first Jason movies I saw. Just him resurrected from the ground. Tom Matthews, and I also love Tom Matthews from Return of the Living Dead. That's so great that this
I'm a
guy's
huge
already.
Return of the Living Dead fan. Yeah,
Yeah, he so awesome. So awesome. He's in your film too.
yeah, I know. It's a pleasure to work with Tom. He's been such a huge support of the project, ever since the beginning. And then once he saw the effect it had on fans, he's just been like all about it ever since. And I just consider myself lucky to get to work with one of my childhood heroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he also comes out in the game. Not every time he comes out in the game.
I
You're
know.
not calling the phone and getting little Corey Feldman to help you out or anything. Yes, yeah. Uh, Tom Matthews is the standard.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's how it's been for me. And I like what John Shepard brought to the table. I like what Corey Feldman brought to the table for those films. But like because Tom did Six and he did Return, and those are two of my favorite movies. Like to me, he's just like perfect. He's the perfect adult Tommy.
Yeah,
He's the perfect elder statesman Tommy. So yeah, this is in a certain degree like Tommy as an elder statesman. Seeing him is like I kind of liken him a lot to like he's sort of like the Obi-Wan Kenobi
yeah,
and Never Hike Alone. Like he's the one who came from the Clone Wars, and now
yeah,
he's here. Like, let me tell you about the story. You know what I mean? Like he's been there for a while, and all these other new people are the new characters. So he's definitely he's the
yeah.
old sage in this one.
And I love the thumbnail because it's seeming like it's Halloween ends. It's Michael versus Laurie. Now it's Tommy versus Jason. And we're finally going to get like a really good showdown and such, right? Or you
Oh
said
yeah,
there's
multiple.
monsters facing each other,
I mean, I
gore.
say I liken it to that. Like,
Mhm.
imagine like it's just no, but they're not men in rubber suits banging up against each other. It's like physical people fighting.
Yeah.
But it's kind of in that. Like, I looked, and every time there's a fight, there's almost sort of like a Mortal Kombat esque sort of set to it. And I
Yeah.
started to notice, which is also in there's like sort of proscenium sort of staging on a lot of kaiju fights. Not obviously Godzilla versus Kong being excluded out of that because that's modern day, but I'm talking about classic, sort of like being on these stages where they're in water pits or on these things. But I noticed I had this repetitive sort of like visual pattern of like, oh, I have them on very definitive like fight sets. Like
Yeah.
no fight set repeats itself. There's always a big difference, which
Yeah.
is really cool. So it's a lot of fun. And I don't know. I think Tommy and Jason fight 3 or 4 times in the film.
Whoa.
Yeah, there's some big stuff in there. There's, they kind of work off of each other too. And everybody sort of has to go toe to toe with Jason at some point. So every character has something that has to go to. So everybody gets a shot. And, some make it and maybe some don't.
Dang, dude. Bump that. I ain't fighting Jason. All you get if he gets your hands on you, dude, that's it. You could rip your head off.
Exactly. And as soon as he gets you and like it's going to be tough to get away. And that's what makes Kyle so special is the fact that he's been able to like slip away from Jason this long. That's what makes him. That's his secret power, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Um, makes him Jason's new nemesis. But he is. Yeah, I can't wait for people to see this. This is going to be.
Oh yeah, it
This
already
is going to be nice and epic.
sounds epic. Multiple fights. Shit. I'm like, I think even like in part six, I think he might have like hooked up with him. Like his hands got on him on that boat. Like not very close combat, or the sheriff really fucked him up a bit. Like
Yeah.
the wood and stuff, but yeah, because Jason's one of the toughest guys out there, dude. You put him against Chucky, Freddy, everybody. I always vote Jason because he's super strong. He also has some skills too. Like he could throw a knife like an Olympic knife thrower in that one. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
we put all of Jason's skills to use in Never Hike Alone. We got some throws, we got some other stuff that's fun.
Oh yeah, that's what makes his versatility.
Mhm.
That's what he's never. I think even Jason prides himself like maybe I'll shoot this guy with the arrow, but I'm not gonna do that 2 or 3 times, dude. I'm gonna switch it up. Maybe I'll hang somebody the other time. His creativity,
Mhm.
that's what's
Yeah,
missing from like other people like Ghostface and stuff. Like stab, 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 stab. No,
yeah,
Jason prides himself on how creative he could get killing somebody.
yeah, totally.
All right, we'll check
Cool.
out Vincent DiSanti's new Never Hike Alone 2. Be a backer. The campaign's actually closing pretty soon.
Yeah, it will be closing. I mean, it's not going to be the credits will be closing September 25th, so you definitely want to get in before that date. Yeah. So any backers that want to back the Never Hike Alone 2 campaign, they have until September 25th. It will you'll get your name in the back end of the credits. The EP raffle will be shut down at that point in time. We're going to draw the winner on September 30th. The winner will become an executive producer with the name in the credits of Tom Matthews and walk away with a Tom Matthews signed screen used Tommy Jarvis shotgun from Never Hike Alone 2. They get to keep
Hey,
it. So that contest is going to close the 25th. So are screen use credits. That's an IMDb credit. Definitely make sure to check us out at Womp Stomp Films on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter X, on TikTok, and can find us on Indiegogo. That's where we're that's where our crowdfund is. There's lots of perks all the way from $10 special thank yous all the way through executive producers, other fun collectibles, Blu-rays, posters, pins. We got it. You name it, we got it. So we definitely appreciate everyone's support, and we'd love to have everyone on the campaign.
all right, we'll check that out. Try to see it in theaters or watch it on YouTube and watch it during your Taylor Swift concert too. And
Exactly. Make sure you're tuning in to Friday the 13th this October to watch Never Hike Alone 2.
so stoked. Thanks a lot, Vince.
Thank you for having me.